Hey there, everyone. Welcome to the weekly paint party live stream. So glad to have you. I'm excited to paint with you this evening, and I am excited that you have joined me. Wherever you are on the internet, feel free to chime in on the comments that pops through in my software, and I love to have a conversation with you as I paint and as I learn to paint through this process. This is episode, I think, 55, so we've been doing this for a little over a year of weeks as I learn to paint publicly and kind of process what I'm learning and share it with you. So glad to have you as always. Lola, I see you in the room. So glad to have you. You're always first on the live stream, almost first, if not the first, and so glad to have you joining. I hope you are having good weather. And it seems like kind of south, there was a lot of big snowstorm that came through Colorado and across the center part of the country. But up north here, we just kind of got a sprinkle of snow. But I know it has snarled the kind of the middle part of the country as we go across the country. So we did get some very, very cold temperatures, but today it was 40, I think 45, 46 degrees Fahrenheit. So it was, and full sun. So I was able to get out on the trails and do some hiking and kind of get some fresh air before we get another plunge. But have had a really mild winter, and it's going to bounce back up into the 40s and 50s, I think, into next week. So excited about that. All right, so let's get started this evening. This live stream is very simple. It is a kind of open house style, pop in, pop out, and I paint a different painting or attempt a different painting every week. Usually we get a good kind of framework for the painting, and then I finish it through as the week goes on or in coming weeks. You can find all of that the process photos for finished paintings on my Instagram. So if you don't follow on Instagram, that's a great place to see those finished paintings. This week, I've also started something very exciting, which is digital art. I bought an iPad recently and have started exploring the software Procreate, which is a phenomenal piece of software. Pretty inexpensive. It was only $10, which I can't believe that they are able to offer that for such a short or for such a small entry point. But it's great for all of us as artists, especially students who are on a fixed budget. But it's a great piece of software. I'm just starting to play with it a little bit, but it's very intuitive, easy to jump into. There's tons of tutorials on YouTube on how to use Procreate. So I've been doing that. I am using it for a very specific purpose. That is to be able to do more paintings more quickly. Working in a digital media, it's very easy to do paintings quickly. I can sit, just in my living room, in my bedroom and do a painting. And it allows me to do multiple paintings quickly. Of course, with the digital format, you don't have storage issues that you would with traditional, canvas or canvas boards. And so that allows me to do paintings and try different things and explore different styles. And so I'm excited to jump into that with the digital art. So you'll see some of those also posted on Instagram. I am still using the software, at least so far, pretty traditionally. I'm using just one or two layers, a background layer and then a canvas layer. And so I am painting pretty traditionally, even though it is digital. I'm not doing as much at all, really, any illustrative type work. I'm not doing significant layered type work. And so you'll be able to see that the paintings I produce on Procreate are pretty similar to what I would produce on a canvas. I am exploring a little bit. Last night I painted a mountain lion and I explored with different types of backgrounds because you can just switch out the color of the background just for fun. But most of the stuff I'm producing will be recognizable. The interesting thing also about this that those of you who follow often will appreciate is that my first 3 paintings on Procreate were all flowers. So if you're interested in that, check that out on Instagram. You know that I've struggled with flowers. I still struggle with flowers. And it was fun because they turned out pretty well. Yeah, it was just a different way of exploring that. So that said, let's jump into tonight's painting. Let me pull up a reference for you so you can see what we're going to attempt. This is going to be a still life. We've done a few still lifes over the last several months. If you remember that kind of skeletal ram's head with the horns, kind of a I don't know exactly what type of animal it was, but that's a still life. A few weeks ago, we did the vase, the glass vase with cherries. That's a still life. So we've done a few still lifes over the last several months or year. The very first one I think I did was the grapes. If you remember that painting way back at the beginning when I was still in Little Rock, I did a beautiful, it turned out beautifully, painting of grapes that was a still life. They were kind of lit from both sides. One of the most challenging paintings I've done, but also one that turned out really well. So tonight we're going to dive in and try another still life. I just thought it'd be fun to try this out. So let's jump in. I'll pull you close to the canvas and we'll get started. I am going to start this evening, as I often do, with a, let me actually see, I don't know, I tried last time, but we might be able to put you on the right-hand side of the canvas so that I can work from the left-hand side. This is a little bit tough because the cord of the camera is not terribly long, but I think this might help, and that way you can see kind of a little more what I'm doing, a little more direct on, and then when I paint from the left-hand side, I'm not reaching across your field of vision. So let's try that tonight. All right. A little less than, you got 6 to 7 inches. That's wonderful. We've actually had a very, very mild winter, and we got a heavy snowstorm early on in like October, November, and then it melted very quickly. We got about 10 to 12, maybe 15 inches, but then we haven't since then. And so has been quite a challenge because we are in the middle of the national forest and we're have danger for forest fires. So that's not something that's fun, obviously. But we are hopeful that we will get the moisture will sink in, the little moisture we got. I think they got similar down in like across Colorado. A lot of my friends across Colorado got significant snows, but we've only had maybe 1 to 2 inches. My app on my phone says a trace to 1 inch, about every other day. So I think Wednesday we're supposed to get 1 to 2 inches, so we might get a little more, but it's the mountains, so until it shows up, you don't really know because, it's going to be whatever it is until we actually see it. Okay, I'm putting a little bit of burnt umber on the palette, also some titanium white, and we're going to start often how we do with just kind of drawing in just drawing in a framework. So I'm going to take some of this burnt umber and draw in kind of a composition. Obviously, I have not toned this canvas at all, but let's see what we can do. Let's put in kind of, I think it is important to kind of put in that kind of wall line, even if we change the colors, that gives us kind of a perspective. So, and let's say this, let's put I think I want to make this jar a little bit higher. Let's just kind of mark off some basic. And over here, we're going to have the pear. Let's make it, this is the pear and the lime. And then we're going to have the eggplant kind of come over here. This will just give us a very simple sketch of what we're trying to do. All right, what do you think? What do you think? Do we have it basically? Is there anything that's really out of whack? Hi there, Mom and Dad, I assume. So glad to have you. We'll kind of put some shape to this. Might be, may have to shape that. All right. Some basic, whoa, I put way too much. I over anticipated the brown I would need. I have so much brown here, and there's a big pile right here. I don't know if, but what I want to do is kind of actually play with this a little bit. So let's kind of, I want the eye, the center of the eye to be drawn here. So let's kind of just do almost a two-tone rendering of this. See if we can do it real quick. We'll have to go in and then put the color over this, but this will also help tone our canvas. Okay, we're putting the basic tones. Now I want to come in here. This is obviously going to be our darkest spot, but I want to come in here and kind of start to dial this in a little bit. This will be a lighter value. We're actually going to have a darker value over here in the pear. But I think there's going to be lightness right there, lightness around there, and the light shining right off there. So we'll start to kind of just put that in, and we'll get some shape down in here. Kind of shadow there. That'll start to give us some idea of, and there's going to be darkness in there, obviously shadow. Then we're going to have probably similar right in here, the grapefruit. Because it is a flat surface and round, the light is going to reflect off the grapefruit directly. And so you'll notice there's not a lot of value, there's not a lot of shadow on the face because the light's coming from this direction. There's not a lot of shadow on the face of this. I said grapefruit, I meant lime. I think I said grapefruit. But there is like obviously a value difference that's indicated by the color in the rind. So let's kind of indicate that. And then of course we're going to have the light will reflect off our differently. Okay, that gives us a perspective. Now on this side, we're going to have the light come in here. So there's going to be some lighter values there and then reflective there. There's a little reflection there, but that now gives us an understanding of the, then let's come in here and put in some shadow. Notice how we're able to put in by just carving out the light and shadow spots, not really even drawing shapes. And I have this is like a pretty big brush, so I am not able to do much at all. This comes reflection off there, and then we have kind of there's a reflection off the top. There's kind of reflected light in there. It's not quite as bright, but then we do have the dark shade right in there, the darkest part of the eggplant. And the darkest spot down here. Because I'm not mixing, if I wanted to make it darker, I could mix some ultramarine blue, which is where we'll go eventually. But I'm trying to do this with just basically one color and white. This shadow area and then the underside of this eggplant. And then there's also some on this, how that all works. Okay, so we're gonna have some. Okay, well, we'll finesse this. There's a little shadow over here. All right. Well, we can definitely see where the light is coming from, which is good. We could tune these in even more, you know, and begin to really define some of the core shapes, which is what we'll just keep working on. But we're going to leave it and give a little rest for so that it there we go. That way it starts to dry, because I laid it on pretty thick because I wanted to see if the values were working for me, and I think they are. I think there could be more distinction between the darks and lights, so that's something I'm going to want to tone in. But let's jump to hey y'all, here in the south, 3 to 4 inches of sleet, ice, freezing ice, 5th day on top of the hill. Yeah, Bob G, welcome. Bob G's been stranded for 5 days. That's what happens. I think northerners don't understand that down south, because the fluctuation of temperature often, you start with sleet and ice and freezing rain. And when it piles up like that, 2 to 3 inches of snow is an annoyance up here, maybe, but it's moved almost before it stops snowing. But when you have sleet and ice, that is a different ball game, and you don't have the equipment to handle it, you know, or enough equipment to really get the whole city treated and plowed, and you end up basically just waiting till it melts. So yeah, that's a crazy, crazy, crazy. Hope you can get out tomorrow. All right, let's look at the background. I'm trying to decide if I want to keep the background the same, like kind of that, or if there are other colors that will make this jump out more. But I kind of like how it is laid out. Let's see. I think this bottom kind of table color really is a complementary color of the blue bottle, which is, and also kind of the green of the lime, because it's kind of an orangish brownish, but there's tones of kind of a reddish brown. So I think that is good for the bottom here. Then this is obviously, this is a warmer color, this is a cool color, but there's kind of the green, which is the opposite of the eggplant. Even though the eggplant in this picture looks black, we could intensify that, put a little more magenta in here, and that would coordinate with kind of the greenish or be complementary of the greenish. So if you look at my wheel, so the greenish colors would be complementary to, oh no, I'm sorry, the red, and then the purple would be complementary to a yellow. So if we did more magenta, we could do a yellow green. So we could, if we had kind of a red violet, we could do a yellow green, and maybe we could amp up the yellow in this. I'm not sure how much I want to fuss with that, but let's get some colors on the palette or on the canvas, and then we can kind of just see what we think. I think I want to do just a tad of phthalo green, which has kind of a bluish tint, and white. So let me take some white and let me just see if this does what I want it to do. It's kind of a creamy green. Okay, let me turn it around so you can kind of at least see. It won't be exactly accurate, but it quickly becomes a peppermint green, which I don't want that. So I do want a little red, so I'm going to take some of this brown, mix that in to tone down the green. But I don't want it to get dark. I just want it a little less peppermint. So let me bring that in, because once we get it on the canvas, it's going to look really peppermint, which I don't want. That tones it down considerably. It's crazy how the red in the brown really tones down the color, makes it more. But I do want a little more, I think I do want a little more blue. So I'm going to put a little ultramarine blue there. Just take the littlest, tiniest bit, because I don't want it too much. Okay, there we go. Let's get it up on the canvas, and then we can adjust. Let's see. Okay, I think it's still going to read pretty peppermint, but this will give us a chance. Well, it kind of, now when I have it up here, it looks like, ooh, sorry, it does look like the more like the color on the reference, so maybe not. Let me see. We'll have to do multiple layers of this anyway, so that's not a big deal. I just basically want to cover this, and this will give us a chance to cover the canvas and also give us a chance to begin to let this all tack up and dry a little bit. Trying to figure how I want to do, because I really want to draw the eye more forward. So I don't think darken the background too much, but I do really want this to be the central focus, even more than the reference photo. But maybe that's something to play with and see. There is maybe just into the edges of and down around the edges of the painting. I can do a little bit of a kind of a semitone darker, and especially back in this corner. So let me put a little green. Ooh, that's really dark. We'll lighten that up, take a little blue. Definitely a little brown to really gray that in a little bit. All right, we'll bring it up here because this technically would be more shadow, should be, but we'll just, yeah, and that'll give us some of that texture because you'll see the brush strokes, which is really cool. I think I kind of like that more. So, yeah. I like this a little. You can tell there's just a shade, like a semitone darker, and this is lighter, and then this is a little bit darker. So we'll see how that plays as it dries. But yeah, we'll have to do more, obviously more layers of the background, but that gives us, I like that. I actually like a little bit of the warmer, or it's actually a cooler green with the blue in it. I do like it a little bit better to kind of amp that up a little bit. And it's funny because I haven't put any color down here on the bottom of the table, but it's already, because of this cool color, it's already making this look warmer. So I think I want to take the red or the brown, and we want to take the, I think we want to take the white as much as possible. Let's make this, but let's do a little bit of, I think we want to do a little tiny bit of yellow. So I'm going to put some yellow ochre over here, just to give it a hint of yellow. Put some more white because we really need to diffuse that. I want it much lighter. A little bit of yellow. Might even like a little bit, tiny bit of red. It's going to be just a dip, just so it's a peachy color. Really warm and beautiful. Okay, there we go. I think that's what we want. So let's put it on there. Let's see. We get a little bit of yellow, a little bit of red. Get this on the table. Blot out some of those heavier marks from the other. Gives us, we can still see it, but it gives us a chance to paint and adjust so they aren't, it isn't the heavy lines of the underpainting. Okay, eventually we'll go in and delineate some of that stuff, but that gives us a base. Okay, so we start to see some of that. Let me actually take, I'm curious about some of this. Wonder, put suggestion of a little bit of darkness because we're going to have kind of a secondary cast shadow down here. Or a reflected shadow. Just by doing that semi-tone darker, you start to see like the edge of a shadow or a reflection there, which is what we want. So that's good. All right, we'll let that dry. Let the background dry, the table dry. We'll come back to our main subject. All right. Let's go in, and I'm going to, for this purpose, I'm going to shift to I think I'm going to shift to my standard filbert brush, just because that's kind of the next one I have as far as, oh, could do a little bit smaller. I don't know. I think I'll do that. Yeah, I'll just use the filbert brush. So, well, yeah. Okay, I think I'm going to work on the eggplant because, or the, I forget what the Europeans call eggplants, aubergine, which seems so much more sophisticated. But let's do some ultramarine blue, some violet, and some dark brown. Let's see if we can mix a very nice dark color that still has the, I do want to step up. I do want it to be definitely a magenta color. So putting in blue and more blue and magenta, just because I think that will make it more interesting painting. And it's my prerogative. because, you know, artiste. So let's put a solid, like a actual line. Let's start a hard line to start to draw the shape of this beautiful beast. So we're being fairly specific to draw in the once we get it kind of how we want it. The shape is correct, then we can work with the values to kind of because this will need to dry. We're basically doing a double undercoat because I wanted to make sure that I wanted to almost do like a value study first, get the values in, and now I can come in with some color. It's pulling up some of the paint. So we had fairly thick paint underneath. So that's what some of that other, but that under color is going to go across the top. We're going to have some reflected light there. So that's not a bad thing. Then we're going to get, then we'll have to put in some shadow. But that gives us the rough shape of the aubergine or the eggplant. Welcome, welcome to those of you who've joined us after the start. Glad to have you. I always forget to welcome people who join us a little later. Always glad to have you. I'm going to put some sap green here. That will give us a good underpainting of the and I'm going pretty much straight sap green out of the tube, but I'm not sure because this is still wet. May not be able to, might just have to suggest some of this, but that's all right. There's not going to be a lot of detail on this because when I first started, I was trying to do, you know, all the detail I saw, and then I realized like that's part of the problem with painting versus a photo. The photo will capture all of the detail because it's a photo and the camera can capture it. But our eyes do not do so. So if you want a painting versus a photorealistic, I mean, there's a place for that. Obviously, I was trying to do that at first because I really wanted, and I still do to an extent, I wanted to refine my skills, but now my goal is more nuanced. So we'll just kind of put some of that in there. That way it kind of gives us the idea of what's going on. Okay, now what I also need to do is take a little smaller brush, and since it's on my palette already, I'm going to take the green, I'm going to lighten it a little bit, the sap green, so it's almost a peppermint, or in this case we could say a lime green. I'm going to take a little tiny bit of like yellow, lemon yellow, so that we get a little bit of that peppermint out of there. But I want to begin to draw in this shape. So we will, again, this is the place where the light is shining or is reflecting the most direct. So it's going to be very, there's not going to be a lot of shadow. So the thing we're going to have to do is find variations within the within the thing. So there we go. I think we pretty much have the shape we need. Feels good. Let me step back and kind of look at it. Yeah, I like that. Now, what I want to do is bring actually a little brown into this. Ooh, that's a lot of brown. And what else do I see? Actually, I see brown. Yeah, a really kind of murky brown. So let me do this and then come in actually with probably a little bit of a larger brush. Oh, that wasn't smart, Steve. I mixed the color I want and then I put tons of water on it. No, no, no. Don't want it too watery. Let's see if we can do this without ruining the... It's very subtle, but we want this internal bit to be... And I'll have to do several coats because it's not going to cover the underpainting. But we can start to get the idea, what we want. Then we're going to have to come in here and put in very small reflections. As if you look at the reference, where the light is reflecting is the rim of the rind, the flesh of the divisions of the lime, and then there are these little tiny reflections in the flesh of the actual fruit itself. There's little highlights basically and lowlights. There's little kind of brownish blue low light where the light is not reflecting as much. They're not as raised, but the edges of those are almost like a white yellow that like bounces where the light is hitting it and it's reflecting back to our eyes. So in order for that to read, that is what we will have to come in and do. So we will just get the framework in for each of these fruits, and that will give us a good, and my goal is to get this done before the top of the hour. So, where is my, there it is, my rag, paint rag. If I can get all of these kind of blocked in, we'll see if I can get this and the bottle done by the top of the hour. Then we can spend the rest of the time just kind of refining these. So let's see. You know what? I'm going to go on YouTube real quick and pull up Pardon my pause here in the... It was just annoying me that the spammers had found us, so I will... Computer runs so slow. I should have it pulled up on my phone, then I could actually, I wonder if that would be faster. Might be because it's just loading, still loading the page. So where are my lives? It doesn't show the one I'm on right now. Okay, that's not going to work on my phone. Let me go in. No, I don't want to do that. So frustrating. That's all right. Pull up, whoops. Oh, I need to just have this pulled up automatically. That way I can see the comments. Oh, it's taking forever. There it goes. Slowly. It's like the olden days of dial-up, a dial-up modem. It's loading that slowly. I was going to try to block the spammers that came into the live stream, but there we go. Now I can block them. We don't need that. There we go. All right. Mischief managed. Now, that took a little time, so let's get into this pear. The color of the pear is going to be a bit of a challenge in that it is kind of there's a brownish yellow, but there's kind of a warm side of the pear, which is this kind of brownish, reddish yellow. And then there's a cool greenish blue side. So it'll be a mix, but that will, so we'll just plug that in. Then kind of that continues around the back, the bottom of this pear. Now let's take the green next door and mix it with a little blue, kind of tone it down. And that's what will come in with this side. We'll put some of that in there along the top of this ridge, farthest from the light. On the back side of this pear will be kind of that. Now it's very blotty now, but we'll keep working on that. Okay, that gives us some little bit of shape. There's just a little bit of also red in there. So let's bring that in. There we go. All right. It's probably a little too blue, but it gives us the idea. All right, we start to see some shape, and then we can just brighten these things up. Now, the last thing we need to work on is the beautiful vase or mug or whatever this. Dropping paint everywhere, y'all. I swear, I know I've said this since last year. I am going to build a rack to hold all my paint tubes. I just need to, it would be very simple, and I just need to like get it, just make it. It can sit up on my table and my tubes of paint can hang from it. And yeah, that's what I need. That's what I need. So I'm not always dropping my stuff. Okay. Let me see. Oh, that's not the blue I wanted, but I think I can make the blue I want. Pretty close. Pretty close. Wanted like a cerulean blue. And I put turquoise instead of cerulean blue on my palette. It's so funny. I remember when I started and I was having so much trouble mixing paint, and I've said this before, you know, getting the colors I wanted. Here, I'll turn that around so you can see I have that brilliant, bright cerulean blue. So I want to bring some more white in just to lighten it up. But I remember saying at the time, someday I was regretting or kind of bemoaning the fact that I was having trouble mixing, but I said someday I'll just know what to mix in the paint, and that's absolutely become true, which is funny because yeah, it is something that I kind of griped about at the beginning, and I remember griping about it and realizing that I had to get past the unknown. Like, there's just things you don't know when you start. And now I'm in a place where I do kind of know what colors I want and how to create them. I was just thinking, one of the challenges though now for me is this kind of a thing, the unorganic shapes, especially that are symmetrical, like this neck of this bottle. Getting a shape so that it looks correct and that it's not a doesn't look like, it looks a little wobbly, but we'll get there. Because a pear or some of these organic shapes, you can kind of finagle a little bit, and I can kind of fake it or something. But something with a very definite line like this, yeah, that's the challenge, isn't it? Because now it looks, if you look at it, like this shoulder is a little droopy, this shoulder is a little high, but it's like, how do I fix it without messing it up. I think I take this shoulder out and down a little more, but we'll see. There we go. I think it's a little bit better. I think this is a little too pudgy on the side. So I may have to bring in the, either pudge this out a little more. Maybe I'll do that. Pudge this right side out. Or I have to bring, oh, I could fiddle with this forever. I better not. Better just not mess with it. Okay. Yeah, now it looks worse, huh? Now it looks worse, but that's okay. We'll step back a little bit and breathe. I'm going to take a picture. Then I think we'll go back to the background just to give a brain break. And that will help me reassess what I need to do on the actual still life itself. Okay. Now, I'm going to switch out my plates for a new plate, but I'm going to keep my paint over here so that I can reach it. Okay. Now, let's look at our background again. Let's go back in with some, what did we use? I think some phthalo green, some white. I think we did a little brown to bring in the red. Okay. We need to lighten this up a lot though. So let's take a lot more white there. I think that's where we need to be. We're pretty close. Nope, that's too dark. Let's bring it up over here. We wanted, it's also a little blue. Need to bring some more gray. Desaturate the green a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, this is a lot more green than perhaps expected, but I think it will, hopefully it will dry well. The challenge is to come in around these images that we've shaped and bring the wall so it looks like they are, because some of the underpainting is showing. So I need to bring the green right up to this. That's one of the hard parts because the brown is wanting to show through there. But we'll keep working this and here around the pear for sure. One of the final steps we'll have to take is really to create the strong lines around these images so that there is clear. That's what makes something like this render well, is by, okay, so we're put a more brown but also more white in the same thing. Lighten up some of this. But that's where you have to render the, to make it believable, you know, because none of these things are, they're all solid lines. So you really have to make a solid line around the image or of the image. Like there have to be sharp lines. The background, where the different objects butt up against each other. Or it just doesn't work. Okay. Because this is over here, I'm gonna bring some of this over here so it's not so dark. That way you'll get some of that. One of the artists I follow online talks about kind of that painterly look. We want kind of you want to see some of those brush strokes if it's a painting. You want to see some of that texture. I think that's part of what makes it so beautiful, is the fact that it's like, I know what this is, but I also can see the paint. I can see that it was applied by a human hand And that's part of the illusion. It's almost like a magician. There's there's the illusion of three-dimensionality. We know it's not the actual thing, but it is that illusion of it. So okay. There we go. All right. So by slightly lightening this background, it draws our eye even subtly into the center. And the reason this composition works is because the aubergine or the eggplant is pointed and leading us in. The color of the bottle draws us in, and the centering of it draws us in. So we're drawn in here, but this is pointing in. By lightening this background and darkening the around it subtly, it also draws our eye in. So that's where you get to talk about, artistic perspective and, what the decisions the artist is making, different than the reference, even though like you'll clearly be able to look at this and see that this is this is a replica or a a duplication of this photo. There's nothing that you would look at it and say, oh, it looks so different. It's like, no, it's pretty similar. I want to do the table, but I also am realizing that I have lightened it way too much, or not enough. I put way too much brown in. So let me try to bring some white. Oh, that might, oh, that's the, just putting another layer on. Eventually we'll probably do something similar where the dark, I mean, we'll need some shadow in there, but I just want to get the lines as good as I can and as precise as I can. There we go. Oh no. Y'all see what I just did? See, this is one advantage of the digital art. I could double tap 2 fingers on my screen and fix that, but not going to. I am going to mix some more green. And I am going to take some white. Get a nice bright peppermint. And bring in a little brown to cut the peppermint. Now we're going to come in and try to, it's going to be too bright, but we're going to try to cover that. So that makes the decision for us. We will have to do another cover of this background. But there, the brown is gone. As much as possible, I guess. Might show through a little bit, but there we go. Problem solved. Wasn't quite as fast as tapping our fingers, but relatively. Okay. We're going to have to, do that background. Now, we want to go back to the still life and pick up where we left off. And everything's kind of an underpainting, so we really want to now get more specific about the colors we're using. So, or more specific about the lines and all of that jazz. So let me get some of that. I'm going to jump in on the aubergine first. Let's see if we can put in some, want some magenta so it's a nice bright purple, but then we're going to bring in some dark brown, kind of make it a blackish purple, dark. That way we can do the kind of dark lights. Let's see. So we'll put that in there. The darkest spots are kind of this, for me, are kind of this, like where it goes down kind of the ridge of the vegetable. And then there's also dark down here, the darkest spots. Underneath where it is touching the table. Right in there. There's kind of a, I want to take the same color but mix even a darker brown and more blue. because I want to get like there's a little tiny bit of a distinction underneath where there's kind of the shadow. So we want to put that shadow in. But you can't hardly see where the vegetable starts. The shadow kind of blends into it. So we want to kind of lay that in. I'm going to have to do a couple layers of that. Okay. But by separating this a little bit, I'm exaggerating the shadow a little bit, it shows a clear distinction, or should. Now I want to mix a little bit lighter to come in on the lighter area of the aubergine. Although I need to darken it a little bit because yes, it's lighter, but it's also reflected, so it shouldn't be as bright as up above. But I don't know if I can do that, because anything I do is going to render, it's going to look too bright probably. So I may have to come back and work on that. Now there's a really bright spot up here, so we want to come in where the light is just really shining. That might be too much, but it'll give us feeling. So now let me see if I can blend some of this. So it's not as severe, maybe too bright, maybe too dry already. I don't think so. There we go. Starts to give us that feeling. We need that really, the feeling of reflection, because that tells us this thing is super smooth. So I think it's rendering pretty good. What do you all think? I did heighten the purple. I don't know, maybe if I shut off the light, it will show better. Nope, it just glares. But I did, it is still a deep purple, but it's not as dark as before. So that is, we're getting there. Now what we want to do is, we have a few more minutes. We want to see if we can do the same, at least get another run through of all of these items. I will probably have to still do some, not probably, I will have to do some detail work. So let's jump, I want to jump over to the pear. Take a little bit of green in the, a little bit of brown. Okay, let's see what we have here. We'll basically do another underpainting to really refine the shape, get our shape really good. Then we'll figure out where our highlights and lowlights should be. I think that shape's pretty good. I like it. Let's see. I think we need a little more green at the top. Kind of a yellow green. I think a little reddish green on this side. Okay. I'm kind of happy with where this is going. It all looks really kind of dull right now. Welcome back. Welcome back. I didn't realize you had gone. Probably to get dinner, huh? Um, I'm pleased with where it's going. It still looks really dull because we haven't really intensified we have the right values starting to lay in, but we haven't intensified the colors. So, um, this I'll put a lot more yellow into that point, and of course the blue there. We need to, let's do, I want to mix this with some cerulean blue and some turquoise. I have the turquoise here. Let me see what I can do with this. Because there is kind of a turquoise, definitely a turquoise blue along this edge. But there's a lot of turquoise in the back as well, so. It's not really doing what I want. I have to. Okay. We'll get some kind of a light reflection. There's a little bit of a reflection there under the lip. There, right there. Okay. And then on this side we get some that's not as intense. So that's we get more of the turquoise coming in. That's the crazy challenge in all of this, is like really looking and thinking, okay, what do I see and where do I see it? Okay, we want to put a light there. And then we see 2 windows, kind of. I'm just getting a little more detail. Like right there is a reflected light under here, and then along the lip here. Down the side there. Then more blue, but it's still a highlight, so it comes down this side. There, we'll keep working on that, but we're starting to get at least basic form from the bottle, so that's good. Cool. It looks really cool on your screen, so that's kind of my I look at your screen sometimes it's my way of stepping back 6 feet, although I could step back 6 feet. I look at it on your screen and I'm like, oh, okay, it's rendering the way I want it to. So we'll let that. Then the last thing I want to get to is the lime. I've done 2 layers of all the others. I do think they all need at least 1 more layer and kind of a detail layer probably, but we're getting there, which is really cool. All right. I was just taking some pictures. Okay, let's go back to what we said about the lime. Okay. We need I think it's sap green. Definitely need sap green and a little white. And maybe a little yellow. Okay. So I'm mixing, you can see here, I'm mixing that very light green, yellow-ish. I want it just to have a little bit of a yellow tint around, that goes around the edge of this lime. So let's outline that edge again, the rind. Okay. I'm going to put a center, and I am going to take a tiny little brush and load it with paint and try to draw in some of this. And there we go. We don't want it to be the actual lime is not perfect. So we want it to be semi-symmetrical, but we want it to also be like that. So it's just kind of now what we need to do is mix a little, well, let me try a little brown. A little dark. Oh no, that's probably a little darker green. Let's see. It's still really green. It's funny. Looks dark. So we need a little red to cut the green. Let's try that. Trying to figure out how to make it look that kind of, so it stands out against the flesh, stands out against the reflection of the rind. I think that's it. It's kind of that. What I need to do then along the edge is put a line of the exterior of the rind. And it needs to blend in, so I'll have to do some more of that. There. May have to do some more detail work on that, but gives us the, then what we can do is come in with a little more yellow in this light. I mentioned that there are some raised points in the flesh of this that end up in the flesh of the fruit that end up reflecting light. So I think it's really important to put a few of those in where the light catches the fruit. Oh, that renders really nice, doesn't it? All of a sudden, that lime looks a little more alive. Okay, so for tonight, we're wrapping up. I think there is another layer, some probably refining of the colors, like brightening some of the colors, doing another probably run at the background to lighten up around there. But I'm really proud of where this went tonight. Let's do the final thing. Let's put a little bit of a like the suggestion of the nub on the stem up here. That is, and then down at the bottom, I think that's what we were missing. Maybe some spots. I noticed some spots of imperfections on the fruit, and just rub that in so they don't stand out too much. There's going to be some more stuff I'm going to have to do, but that gives us a good starting point. Let me take a little bit of just different there. I think that looks cool. And the very final thing, we have 8 minutes or less. Let me take some of this green, brown, white. Let me try to refine some of this a little bit. Okay. A little bit of a highlight here where the light is the brightest. We'll keep refining that as we go, but that gives us a little bit of a feeling for, oh, there's a top on there. There we go. There we go. I like it, y'all. I like it a lot so far. What do y'all think? What are your thoughts? Any thoughts, comments as we bring this beautiful session to a close. A freshing cold limeade. That sounds delicious if it weren't 20 degrees outside. No, I don't think it's 20 degrees. It's probably like 30. But Bob G, that sounds great if it was summertime. All right, let me wrap this bad boy up real quick. There we go. And good deal. All right, well, I am pleased with where this one is ending up. I hope you enjoyed the live stream tonight. Do be sure to catch up with me on Instagram to see what I am exploring in. Sorry, I'm messing around. Do catch up with me on Instagram to check out what I'm exploring in Procreate. I have painted digitally the flowers, the 4 paintings in the last day, 2 days, 3 days. So I am doing more. I'm trying to do them more often. It's a little bit easier because I can just open my iPad and start painting something. So you'll see a lot of maybe more sketch type stuff, more quick paintings. And eventually I want to get to the point where I can do studies, a value and color study on the iPad before I actually get to the canvas. And eventually I'd like to do some larger pieces that way, having painted through them and thought through them on the iPad. So you can definitely check that out. You can definitely check that out on Instagram. That's the place to keep informed. And as I finish up this painting and others, I will post those progress photos on Instagram on my feed. Typically, I will post in my Instagram stories kind of in progress things, so you can always keep up. There was no vlog video this morning. This week has been a crazy week. There wasn't a lot happening outside of like in my everyday life, so I didn't get a vlog done, but I have already recorded most of the vlog for this coming week. I just have to edit it. I was able to get out on the trail, like I said today, and I was able to do some other chores and things that I think make a vlog more interesting. So be looking for that next Monday. I will look forward to seeing you all next Monday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern, and of course 7 Central, etc. I look forward to it. I appreciate you joining me, and I hope you have a great week. I will see you next time.